Have you ever stood at the edge of a moment, heart pounding, as if it's trying to tell you something your mind hasn't caught up to? Picture a late October evening, the air sharp with the scent of fallen leaves, the sky a deep indigo streaked with fading light. You're on your front steps, wrapped in a worn sweater, a mug of peppermint tea warming your hands. The steam rises in delicate spirals, like a question hanging in the air. Your phone buzzes, and it's a message from someone you thought was a cornerstone in your life. But the words feel off, flat, like a melody missing its soul. Your chest tightens, not with anticipation, but with a quiet unease. It's that flicker of intuition, the one you've felt before, whispering, "This isn't right." Meet Sarah, a 32-year-old illustrator whose infectious laugh can brighten even the gloomiest room. She's the friend who remembers your favorite book, who texts you a funny meme when you're down, who stays up late to help you untangle life's messes. But lately, Sarah's been carrying a shadow she can't shake. It's tied to Ethan, a 35-year-old writer she met at a poetry reading 3 years ago. Ethan, with his quick wit and soulful eyes, seemed to need her in a way that felt rare, almost sacred. He'd call her at midnight, pouring out his fears about his stalled novel, and Sarah would listen, her voice a steady lighthouse in his chaos. But now, Ethan's messages are sparse, his replies curt, like he's already halfway out the door. When they meet, his gaze slides past her, as if she's become background noise. Sarah feels the shift, the way his warmth has faded to a polite chill. But she buries it, telling herself he's swamped, that he's just navigating his own storms. She builds excuses like a fragile scaffold, holding up the story she's told herself, that Ethan cherishes her, that their bond is mutual, that she's not just a convenience. Deep down, though, her intuition is screaming. She's spent so long ignoring it, drowning it in hope, that she's forgotten how to trust it. This isn't just Sarah's story, it's yours too. We've all clung to someone who's already drifting away, rationalizing their distance because facing the truth feels like dismantling a dream. It's human to crave connection, to weave tapestries of hope from threads of doubt. But what happens when those threads unravel? What happens when you realize the person you've poured your soul into doesn't see you the way you see them? That's where this journey begins. Not with answers, but with a question. How long will you keep pretending you don't know? Step into Sarah's world, a cozy apartment filled with thrift store furniture and walls adorned with her colorful sketches. A photo sits on her kitchen counter, her and Ethan at a street fair last summer, laughing under a canopy of twinkling lights, their arms slung around each other. That moment felt like evidence of something real, something lasting. But now, as Sarah scrolls through her phone, rereading Ethan's latest text, "Hey, been crazy busy, catch up soon," a hollow ache settles in her chest. It's not just his absence. It's the way he's only present when it serves him. Ethan has a habit of reappearing when he's at his lowest. Last month, when his latest manuscript was rejected, he showed up at Sarah's door with a six-pack and a litany of complaints. She stayed up until dawn, listening, offering encouragement, suggesting editors who might give his work a chance. She felt vital, like she was making a difference. But when Sarah's best friend moved across the country 2 weeks later, leaving her grappling with loneliness, she texted Ethan, hoping for a fraction of the comfort she'd given him. His reply? A brief, "That sucks, here, if you need me." He wasn't. He didn't call, didn't ask how she was coping. He vanished, only to resurface days later with another crisis of his own. This is the rhythm of an unbalanced bond, where one person gives endlessly and the other takes without pause, leaving an invisible debt that grows heavier with every unreciprocated gesture. Sarah's starting to see the pattern, but it's hard to confront. She thinks back to her childhood, waiting by the phone for her older sister, who promised to call but rarely did. That old wound, the need to be enough for someone, pushes her to keep giving, hoping Ethan will finally recognize her value. But the truth is, Ethan's not drawn to Sarah's heart. He's hooked on her energy, her readiness to mend his broken pieces. He knows how to keep her close, a fleeting compliment, a moment of shared vulnerability, just enough to keep her tethered. Let's meet Ava, Sarah's 29-year-old colleague, who's been watching this unfold. Ava's quick with a sarcastic quip, but has a heart that sees through facades. Over lunch at a bustling cafe, the clink of dishes and hum of conversation around them, Ava shares her own story. "I used to have this friend who'd only call when her life was falling apart," she says, twirling a strand of hair. "I thought I was being a good person, always there for her. But then I realized she didn't care about me. She just needed someone to absorb her chaos." Ava's words land like a pebble in still water, rippling through Sarah's thoughts. What if Ethan's not the friend she's imagined? What if she's been chasing a mirage? This dynamic isn't unique. It's the unspoken agreement we make with people who take more than they give, who offer just enough gratitude to keep us hooked. They say, "You're my lifeline," but never check if you're drowning. They thank you for being there, but their actions whisper indifference. It's a subtle game of emotional manipulation, often unconscious, rooted in their own unresolved pain. But understanding their reasons doesn't mean excusing their behavior. The question for Sarah and for you is this: why do you keep paying a price you never agreed to? Now, let's pause on a moment that sharpens everything for Sarah. It's a rainy afternoon, the kind where the world feels hushed, like it's keeping its secrets close. She's in a quiet bookstore, the scent of old paper and coffee in the air, flipping through a collection of poems. Her phone rings, and it's Ethan, his voice trembling with the familiar edge of crisis. "I blew it, Sarah," he says. "The publisher dropped me, and I'm lost." Against her instincts, she invites him over. They sit on her couch, rain drumming against the windows as he unloads his despair. Sarah listens, her heart aching for him, offering ideas, contacts, hope. When he leaves, he's steadier, gripping her hand. "You're a godsend, Sarah. I'd be nothing without you." Those words should warm her, but they don't. They sink like anchors, heavy with expectation, because Sarah knows what follows. Silence, no follow-up, no gesture of care, no sign that Ethan values her beyond what she provides. This is false gratitude, a velvet trap disguised as kindness. It's the thank you that keeps you bound, the praise that makes you feel essential while leaving you hollow. Sarah's starting to see it for what it is: a transaction, not a connection. To understand Ethan's side, let's glimpse his world. At 35, he's still chasing the approval he never got, growing up in a home where his parents' arguments drowned out his voice. He leans on others to fill that void, using his charisma and vulnerability to draw them in. He's not malicious. He's a man trapped in his own patterns, too afraid to face his emptiness. But his struggles don't justify the way he treats Sarah. He knows she'll always be there, ready to pick up his pieces, because she's cast herself as the rescuer, the one who never says no. And every time she does, he reinforces it with just enough warmth to keep her in place. This pattern isn't just Sarah and Ethan's, it's universal. Think of someone in your life who leans on you when they're crumbling, but vanishes when you need support. Maybe it's a friend who only calls when they're heartbroken, or a partner who expects you to carry their emotional weight while dismissing yours. These are the bonds that exhaust you, not because of what they take, but because of what they never return. They turn you into what Carl Jung called the wounded healer, someone who pours their strength into others while their own fractures deepen. The tragedy is that you keep giving, hoping they'll see you. When they already do, they just don't care enough to show it. Now, let's step into a moment that changes everything for Sarah. It's a quiet evening, the city's hum filtering through her open window, streetlights casting long shadows across her floor. She's on her couch, wrapped in a blanket, staring at her phone. She's drafted a text to Ethan, asking why he's been so distant, why he only reaches out when he's in pieces. Her thumb hovers over the send button, but she can't do it. Instead, she sets the phone down and lets the tears come. She's not crying for Ethan, not really. She's crying for the version of him she built in her mind, the one who'd show up for her, who'd value her for who she is, not what she does. She's crying for the promise of a friendship that was never real. This is the cruelest paradox, the fear of losing someone who doesn't love you. It's a fear rooted not in reality, but in what you've projected onto them. Sarah's made Ethan into something he's not, a tether, for her own need for connection. She remembers her mother's voice, sharp and certain when Sarah was 10. If you're good enough, people will stay. That lesson, carved into her young heart, drives her to keep trying, to keep giving even when it hurts. But Ethan's not staying, not in the way she needs. He's there when it's easy, when she's useful, but when she sets a boundary or asks for support, he's gone. And that's the test. True care shows up when you're no longer convenient, when you say no, when you stop being what they need. Let's bring in Noah, Sarah's 40-year-old neighbor, a counselor with a gentle voice and a knack for seeing through pretense. Noah's noticed Sarah's spark dimming, and one evening, as they sit on their building's rooftop, the city sprawling below, he shares a story. I had a client who spent years chasing a friend who only called when she needed something, he says, sipping his coffee. She thought she was being loyal, but she was addicted to being needed. When she finally let go, she didn't lose a friend. She found herself. Noah's words settle over Sarah like a warm blanket, stirring something deep. What if letting Ethan go isn't losing him? What if it's reclaiming the parts of herself she's given away? This fear of loss is something we all know. We hold on to people not for who they are, but for what they represent. Love, acceptance, the hope that we're enough. But clinging to someone who doesn't see you is like grasping at smoke. It slips away, leaving you emptier than before. The key is to separate presence from connection. Someone can be in your life every day and still not be with you. And sometimes, the people who leave respect you more than the ones who stay for their own convenience. Now, we reach the turning point. It's a crisp Sunday morning, and Sarah's at a park near her apartment, the air alive with the chatter of birds and the laughter of children. She's been reflecting on Ava's advice, Noah's story, and the weight she's carried too long. She pulls out her phone and opens her chat with Ethan. Instead of texting him, she writes a note to herself. I'm not your refuge if you are my storm. It's a vow, a boundary, drawn in ink. She doesn't send it to Ethan. She doesn't need to. This is for her. Sarah's beginning to grasp something powerful. The bravest act isn't confronting someone who's hurt you. It's walking away. Disappearing doesn't mean fleeing. It means reclaiming your power. It means refusing to be a resource for someone who sees you as expendable. It means choosing yourself, even when it stings, even when guilt whispers, even when you're tempted to go back and explain. Sarah thinks of all the times she's apologized for needing space, for setting limits, for daring to put her peace first. No more. She's done proving her worth to someone who never saw it. This moment is a rebirth, not just for Sarah, but for anyone who's lingered too long in a relationship that drained them. It's the moment you realize love isn't sacrifice, it's mutual. It's the moment you stop glorifying pain and start honoring your own value. Sarah's not closing the door on Ethan out of spite, she's doing it out of love for herself. And that's the difference. When you leave someone who uses you, you don't become selfish, you become whole. Imagine Sarah a few weeks later at a painting workshop, her hands smeared with color, laughing with a new friend she met there. Ethan texts her something vague about needing to talk, but she doesn't respond. Not out of cruelty, but because she's free. She's learning to fill her own heart, to surround herself with people who see her, who stay not out of need, but out of care. And that's the gift of disappearing. It makes room for the life you deserve. You're at this crossroads too, aren't you? You've felt the burden of someone who takes without giving, who leaves you doubting your worth. But here's the truth. No one else will tell you. You're not the same person you were when you started this story. You see the cracks now, the imbalance, the manipulation, the way you've been functional instead of loved. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So what will you do? Will you keep carrying someone else's shadows? Or will you step into your own light? The choice is yours. But know this, when you choose yourself, the world shifts. Close your eyes, breathe, and disappear from the life that no longer serves you. Let's linger a little longer in a new chapter of this journey. It's December now, months after Sarah's choice to let Ethan go. The air is crisp, scented with evergreen and frost, and Sarah's walking through a vibrant holiday market, bundled in a wool coat. Stalls shimmer with lights, vendors hawk spiced cider and handmade trinkets, and the buzz of laughter fills the air. Sarah's breath clouds in the cold, and for the first time in years, she feels unburdened, not because life is flawless, but because she's learning to trust her own heart. This is a season of introspection, where the world quiets and invites us to look within. For Sarah, it's a chance to face the mirror of her self-worth, to ask why she stayed so long in a friendship that diminished her. She thinks of herself at 22, fresh out of college, desperate to be needed, to be liked. Back then, she'd bend over backward to keep people close, even if it meant losing pieces of herself. That pattern followed her into her 30s, shaping her bond with Ethan. But now she's unraveling it. She's learning that self-worth isn't about what you give others. It's about what you refuse to accept. Here we meet Clara, a 45-year-old vendor at the market, who becomes an unexpected mentor. Clara's stall is lined with leather-bound journals, each cover etched with intricate patterns. Sarah pauses to admire one, and they fall into conversation. Clara shares her story. 10 years ago, she was in a marriage that sapped her spirit. Her husband wasn't cruel, but he was indifferent, taking her love for granted while offering little in return. I stayed because I thought that's what love meant, Clara says, her voice warm with hard-earned wisdom. But one day, I looked in the mirror and didn't know who I was. So I left, not to hurt him, but to save myself. Clara's words echo Sarah's own journey, reinforcing her choice to walk away from Ethan. It's a reminder that letting go isn't defeat, it's courage. This winter brings Sarah face to face with a deeper truth. The people we keep in our lives reflect how we see ourselves. When we tolerate those who use us, we're signaling to the world and to ourselves that we're not worth more. But when we set boundaries, when we say no, when we walk away, we rewrite that narrative. Sarah's starting to see her value not in Ethan's validation, but in her own choices, the way she shows up for herself, the way she's building a life with people who mirror her care. Think of your own mirror. Who's standing in it? Are they people who lift you up, who see your light even when you can't? Or are they shadows, draining your energy while offering nothing in return? This isn't about blame, it's about clarity. It's about recognizing that you deserve connections that feel like home, not like a battlefield. Sarah's learning this, and so can you. Write it down if you need to. I am not your refuge if you are my storm. Let it be your anthem, your promise to yourself. Because when you start to value your own heart, the world has no choice but to follow.